6,000 Indiana child welfare cases were opened last year, the largest increase in nearly a decade.
As ITMate's Bennett Haeberle explains, experts believe the surge is in part tied to heroin. Bennett?
Dave, there is some debate if drugs are the sole reason for this increase, but the consensus is that heroin's choking grip is at least partly responsible for suffocating the system.
I had my oldest at that time, you know, and in the end we ended up being in a hotel, you know, him burglarizing houses so that we could have the money to stay in that hotel then and have food, and then whatever was left was put on drugs. So
Jamie's good days now outnumber the bad. She's looking at photos of her children that remind her of the person she's becoming, not the person she's been.
if you would see me on heroin and that person and then the person you see right now, they're totally two different people.
She asked that we hide her face because she's on a new path with a full-time job now outside of her role as a mom to 2 girls. The youngest just now learning to walk. It's a far cry from the old Jamie, who stole, spent time in jail, and lost temporary custody of her oldest daughter for nearly a year.
So I used when I was happy, sad, excited, lonely, it didn't matter, you know, so to learn how to function properly without the use of drugs was the battle.
After graduating from a drug court program, Jamie relapsed on heroin and called the court to confess.
Within a couple of days, DCS was at my house.
She credits the court with helping her get clean a second time. Her story is not unique. Indiana's problem with heroin has created a problem in juvenile court, where thousands of children end up under the watch of the state because their parents are either in jail or in rehab. The cases are referred to as child in need of services. Our investigation found there were more than 20,000 cases filed last year, up from 16,000 the year before. Nowhere is the example more clear than here in Marion County, with 3,800 cases last year. The docket's so full, judges have taken on more work, and they've opened an additional courtroom. Empty seats are rare. It's usually standing room only in the waiting room. And the few available parking spots are another sign the system is overwhelmed.
It's a custody hearing over my daughter.
Brandy Buse is hoping to win back custody of her infant daughter, but she admits to past drug use.
I was using oxycodone for a while. Before I found out I was pregnant, and then when I found out I was pregnant, I went to a doctor, and they prescribed me methadone.
Maybe if some of those things would have happened, you know, maybe I would have had maybe a little more of a heart in the courtroom today.
Doug Taylor was here for a hearing about his step-grandson and the child's mother. Drugs, he says, are part of the picture.
There is a heroin epidemic, and, you know, she feels like she's getting treatment, but, you know, I feel like if you really wanted your kids, you'd put that stuff behind you.
I think in no small way that's a huge problem, is the drug usage.
The head of the Department of Child Services says her agency is working to hire more case managers who investigate and prosecute the Chin's cases. Marion County Public Defender Bob Hill says he hired 5 new attorneys last year who end up defending the addicted parents in danger of losing their children.
Yes. And what I'm saying is we're not doing a good job of keeping our head above water right now because the caseload's gone up.
We're approaching the point where we're out of compliance.
Falling out of compliance with caseload maximums could put Indiana counties at risk of losing millions of dollars, usually reimbursed by the state.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
In an effort to avoid that, the State Public Defender Commission voted in December to increase the caseload maximums. Instead of 120 child welfare cases, defense attorneys are now being told they can handle up to 150.
It scared me for my clients.
Sleep.
They're not the only ones being pressed.
Sleeping.
At Indianapolis's only children's shelter, CEO Tina Clower says their organization has doubled in size in 3 years.
We've just had a flood of cases. The last year has been significant.
What is that?
Most children stay here a few days.
Why? isn't.
But in rare cases, it can take weeks before a family member or foster home is located.
So I think we try to be very mindful that the kids are the victims, and you know, that it's not their fault that they're in the system.
Children are remaining in care longer than they used to be, and it's a direct correlation to families not being able to recover from addiction.
Jamie says her battle still wages on.
I will never say I won't use again. I will never say that mistakes aren't going to be made, but I can do everything I can to safeguard myself and my girls from it.
And the high caseloads for defense attorneys also raise constitutional questions about whether they're providing effective counsel to these parents. Indiana's caseloads are being studied now by an outside group. The Public Defenders Commission says it's going to review the increased caseloads at its next meeting in June to see if more changes are needed. Bennett, Haeberle, 24-Hour News 8.